Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden, and it's that funny time of the year just between Christmas and New Year, and having been inside for so long, it's just so lovely to get back outside in the garden. And even though the days are short, just getting out for a couple of hours is like a tonic. Sometimes it looks cold and uninviting and miserable, but usually find that once I get outside and working, I no longer feel cold and I just love it. And it surprises me just how much you can get done in a couple of hours. Yesterday, I just came out, it was actually 4 o'clock when I came out, and I just did a little bit of weeding in of the flower garden, and I just really enjoyed it. It was just what I needed. So following on from the house tour video that we did, I'd like to welcome some of our new subscribers to our channel, but I also want to thank my long-standing subscribers for all their support and input. I love reading all your comments, and we value all the tips that we learn from you, and by watching, liking and subscribing, you're really helping us progress in all our plans, and any revenue that we earn helps fund future projects. And also the morale support is every bit as valuable to us too. It's really firing us up and keeping us going. So up to now, this channel has focused solely on the garden, but we're more than happy to develop it to include indoor DIY projects too, which we do lots of. I guess over the years we've picked up lots of skills which we're more than happy to share, and we certainly have lots to do if you want to come along with us for that too. Alistair and I could instantly see all the potential that this lovely old house had when we bought it now over 15 years ago, which is incredible. It's that long ago. And although in the early years it was quite demoralising at times, doing all these thankless tasks like insulating, roofing, changing the structure inside the house and also in the garden, but we now feel we've reached this really exciting time where we're really unlocking bit by bit the house and garden's full potential. So I'd love to have you join us for that. And I'd also just like to mention my father-in-law Tony, who really helped us, particularly doing all the big structural jobs when there were jobs that are two-man jobs, quite big things. He was always there on hand to help Alistair, and he taught my very clever husband. I think Alistair's got a bit of a fan base going on now on the channel, all the things that he can do. Perhaps I do take it for granted how he can turn his hand to anything, but he definitely learned that from his father. Tony always had the attitude, if somebody else can do it, then so can we. So he took on board all our harebrained ideas, but rather than criticising them, he just rolled up his sleeves and got stuck in and helped make everything happen. So I know some fathers and sons go and watch football matches, but Alistair and Tony always bonded over the latest DIY project or challenge. And so now you know where Al gets his motivation and his can-do attitude from. So Tony continues to follow along with us and watches every video between his visits. In fact, I'd say is one of the reasons that we started this channel, because during COVID we wanted to keep family members up to date on what we're up to, and this was the way to do it. So I guess this video is quite a reflective video, and I thought it'd be nice to have a wander around the garden, just looking at what's been happening, reflecting on what we've done over this year, all the places we've been to, the things we've done, and the projects that we've got up to. I did look at the video I did this time last year just to look to see whether we had done all the things we set out to do at the beginning of 2024. Some of them we have done, some of them we haven't, but we'll come on to that as we go round. So let's begin. So we'll start our tour up at the top of the garden. This area is furthest away from the house, and it's what we're calling our arboretum. It's the newest part of our garden, and this time last year we were just starting doing the planting of the trees. So I did do a video called Choosing New Trees, in which I explain how I arrived at which trees to plant. This really took years in the planning, constantly looking at trees that were perhaps unfamiliar to me and learning more about them and considering their suitability and size. So all of the trees we settled on are trees that are either naturally quite small or that can be pruned to a desirable size. So we'll go and have a look round all the trees and look at how they're doing. So coming out of the vegetable patch, we just passed through the parterre, which is a lovely area, and I think this is pretty finished. There's nothing I would add to this. I just love the parterre, really good, and it gives this lovely strong structure all times of year. in the winter months as well. The seating area never looks so nice at this time because everything's covered over, the seats are all covered over just to protect them from the winter weather. But this area we would like to put a pergola up here at some point. I don't think that will be done this year. But we'll pass now into the tree area and I'll just walk you around some of the plants and things that we've put in here. This is the Amelanchier Robin Hill, all budded. That will be out in sort of early spring. This is a Hydrangea Paniculata Limelight, and here we've got the Epimediums. The sun's just coming out, it's so lovely. And this is Pittosporum Tenifolium Tom Thumb. She's got this lovely purple foliage. The new foliage comes through green, but the foliage, the older foliage is this lovely red colour. Then at the back there, this is done really well. This is a Viburnum plicatum tomentosum Kilimanjaro. It's a bit of a mouthful. And here is a Skimmia. This is a lovely Skimmia with white flowers. At the back there is the Mahonia, which was lovely. It's just gone over now, but it has these lovely yellow flowers, which the insects love. It's got a few actually. I think there's a little flower on it there. Yeah, it has got some flowers on it. Then here are the dogwoods, looking fiery and really, really lovely. Got Midwinter Fire, and I can't remember what the yellow one's called, but they look like flames. They look so lovely. At the back there we've got the Magnolia. This is a lovely Magnolia. Grandiflora, Evergreen Magnolia, or Bull Bay as it's also called. We were a little bit worried about that after we first planted it. It didn't look quite so good, but it now is really, really healthy and thriving. And here is the Pittosporum Tenifolium Irene Patterson, which has got these lovely variegated leaves and looks so good next to the dogwood. And here is a Catalpa, very small Catalpa. It's got these sort of, the ends of the leaves kind of have gone black and brown, but I don't think it's a problem. I think it will come back. We'll just keep an eye on that. On this side we've got this Calicarpa, which has got purple berries on it. You can just make out a few there. And this is Winter Box. This is doing really well. There was meant to be 3 clumps, but one of the clumps died and I had to take another cutting, so that one's a little bit behind, but look how big these have got, and it smells lovely. It's got these black berries on it and the flowers smell really nice as well. Behind it is the Acer Grisium, which has been in for a while now, and it's getting big, and it's got this lovely peeling bark, which adds a little bit of interest at this time of year. We've got a Pyrrhus there. That Euonymus has been burnt already. We haven't really had that much cold weather, but it's been burnt. I don't know if that will stay there. I'm not that keen on that. The Pyrrhus japonica there. And then this is a Pinus. This is Pinus Mungo Sunshine. It's just a dwarf mountain ash. It's lovely. We've got another Hydrangea Limelight there. And then at the back here, this tree is the Cornus Crusa China Girl. This is lovely. I'm really looking forward to seeing it in spring. So as I say, these have only been in, haven't even been in a year yet. Another Pittosporum with the purple leaves, and this is a Phormium Cookianum Tricolour. It's got these lovely colours on the leaves. We did do a video, if you've got a Phormium, because they can look really ugly when they get old, and we did a video following on some advice from John Lord on how to cut them back. If they're getting old and ugly, cut them back and they come back lovely. And this is an Arbutus. This is Arbutus anido, or known as the strawberry tree, and we've got it there, and that was on some of your advice, because where we'd had it originally was on a path, and it was advised that when they drop their fruit they can be quite messy, so we've deliberately put it quite back from the path so that it can drop just onto the soil there and it won't make too much of a mess. Got another hydrangea there. That's a lace cap hydrangea. And this is lovely. This is a really good tree for a winter garden. This is Corylus Avellano contorta, or corkscrew hazel, and we used it in some of the Christmas decorations. It's just beautiful. So it's quite an ugly thing in the summer, but in the winter it comes into its own. So here, when everything else has died back and the leaves have gone, it's got this lovely architectural form, and it will continue to get better and better as it gets bigger. Here we've got some sedum which has been cut back, Hylotelephium. This is Psychocarpus or 9-bark, so we look forward to seeing the lovely purple leaves on that when it starts to come back again. We've got another hydrangea there, and the tree here is the Parotia persica, which is the main tree. This is a Vanessa one because they can have quite a wide spreading habit, so we've deliberately chosen Vanessa, which is a more upright form. So we'll watch this growing over the years to come. This is Pittosporum tuberum nanum. Looks as if it's had a bit of frost damage. We've got 3 of those. They were in Olivia's garden. Then here is Nandina domestica, or heavenly bamboo. It's got this lovely red leaf. This is little Daphne, which is only little. And this is Miscanthus sinensis, morning light. This is a great plant to have. It looks fantastic in this spot. You can see it just catches the sunshine. If I stand right back, it looks really iridescent. And then the tree at the back there is Heptacodium mycinoides, or 7 sunflower tree. So this is a beautiful tree. Now we're doing a little bit of work at the back there. We're thinking of putting a seating area there, but I think Alistair said he's not happy with that. So he, I think, has got other ideas. I'm not sure what they are, but we'll see what we're going to do here. You'll see we've got some pipes under all the new trees. We just put some pipes in, which just means that in the summer when it's really dry, you can put the hose in there and it gets it right down to the roots. And this tree has also got this beautiful peeling bark. This is a little ginkgo. So obviously they're not looking great at this time of year. They're all in their bare structure, but this is a beautiful little ginkgo. It's called Ginkgo biloba American. It's a small ginkgo, so if you want a ginkgo, because they're lovely, but you can't accommodate a big one, then go for this one. This is American. More little shrubs and things here. I think this is a hebe. This is Cercis canadensis forest pansy. Love this tree. This is lovely, and in the autumn it just looks spectacular, and it's a good place to have it because again it catches the light and it goes through the leaves, and the leaves look iridescent. Here is some grass. This is Stipa tenissima, or Mexican feather grass. Grasses really hold the garden together in the winter and just provide a little bit of structure. Here is this is Pittosporum tenifolium silver sheen. It's got these nice purple stems which look good, particularly when the Parotia persica is out. Here we've just got some little cypress, Leyland cypress pom-pom trees, one there and one there. And then here is Euonymus europaeus. This is red cascade, another lovely tree. And then finally this little tree, Sciadopterus versitilate, or umbrella tree. I think I'll just call it umbrella tree because I can't say it. It's got these lovely cones, and we use these in the Christmas decorations as well. Aren't they lovely? So that's this area, and I think I'm just really pleased with it. The turf that we did last spring has just taken brilliantly. We have had quite a wet summer, which for us has been good because everything has taken really, really nicely. So after planting the trees, we hadn't put the shrubs in at this point. This was back in sort of January time, and incidentally I did a video on every single tree. So although you're seeing the trees now in their bare winter stems, most of the trees are deciduous. If you want to look and find out a little bit more about any of the trees I mention, then simply scroll through the videos and you'll see each of the trees that I mentioned. I did an individual tree video on each of them as we planted them, so looking at how to plant trees successfully. And I must say we did do it really thoroughly, and every single one of them has taken. We haven't had any failures. So if you're new to planting trees, have a look at any of the videos just to see how to plant a tree correctly, and hopefully you'll have the same success. So we'll move now and have a look around the rest of the garden. So you'll see our garden is made up of lots and lots of hedges. We've got Leylandii at the back there, and what I would say about Leylandii is that it's a good hedge. We needed a hedge that filtered the wind, and we needed something that acted quickly and grew quickly so that we could have a garden, because you can't have a garden if you've got high winds, and we did have problems with winds. So that has helped, and as long as it's maintained, as long as it's kept under control, we cut it probably twice a year, and it's been a really good hedge. We're pleased with it. Just to give you some context, can you see that hedge just next to the shed? That's Leylandi as well, and we haven't cut that for probably 2-3 years, so you can see how massive it's got and how out of control it's got. To be honest, we're going to take that down because we no longer need it, but I just wanted to show you how important it is to look after. Now here we've put beech hedging in. We've got a lot of yew hedging, and yew hedging, I love yew hedging, and I did do a video all about yew hedging, but what I would say, if you have a lot of yew hedging, it can look quite dark. So by having beech hedging, which we've got all around the perimeter here, it just contrasts with the green so nicely. When you look from at the top of the garden, out of the house windows, and you see the contrast of the orange and the green, it just looks really good together all times of year. So that's been good. As I said, the box is coming out. This has got very bad box blight. You can treat box blight if you have got it, and I do use the treatment on the rest of the box, but I deliberately haven't with this because I know it's coming out, and you can see how bad it's got because I haven't been treating it. But if you have got box, and we look at the rest of the box, and it looks quite healthy because it has been treated, not at this time of year, but the rest of the year. Here is we're coming back through the parterre again, and here we've got box, and this is really, really healthy, lovely, healthy box. So as long as I treat the box, it keeps it looking good. And this is I call it the quadrant garden just because it's got 4 quadrants of beds. I have made a little bit of a start on weeding. I've done some cutting back in this border and on this border too, but there's a lot more to do. But what we've been doing is, as we cut back, Alice has just been bringing his shredder over, and we've shredded it straight back onto the border again. That's really, really much easier way of doing things. So we'll carry on doing that. You'll see on this border and this border, I haven't quite got to those yet, so this afternoon I'm going to do that. And then the pathway along here, this is our long walk. It's just a gravel pathway flanked by box, and again this box is really healthy. To keep the box healthy, you must treat it, and have a look at that video if you want to know how to avoid box blight. Here is the Osmanthus, and this is Osmanthus buckwoodii. Underneath it is planted with Erigeron, and the Erigeron looks good even at this time of year. And I want to repeat this look underneath Olivia's tree in the arboretum area, because it just jars a little bit. We need something spilling over the top as it does here. It just softens the whole look. So we need to get that Osmanthus to establish down there. So here we'll just head down now into the sunken garden. The sunken garden's got these 4 trees. These are Prunus lusitanica. Unfortunately, with events of what happened last year, we just didn't get to cut the Prunus lusitanica. This is also known as Portuguese laurel. We didn't get to it, and as you can see, they've got really, really big. So we must prioritise doing those in the new year. Here are more skimmias. This is a red berried one, and it looks lovely because it's got the red in those berries and then the red on the stems of the Prunus lusitanica, which just look good together. This is quite a simple area, just those 4 trees, not a lot else, just greens, quite a calm kind of area. And here we've planted some hydrangeas. These are the hydrangeas, they're called Strong Annabelle. And I grew these really for underneath the hornbeam, because I'd thought initially I was going to put hydrangeas under there, but then I just thought they're going to get too dry and they won't thrive. So instead I've put them here, and after they got eaten by the rabbits, 2 of them got eaten completely by the rabbits. Hopefully the others are okay and will come back. The rabbits, incidentally, we've managed to get on top of our rabbit problem by rabbit proofing the whole garden. So we've got rabbit proofing that runs around. So that was another massive job actually of this year, one of those thankless tasks that just were a real bind to do. Took a lot of time, but was really necessary to stop our garden getting devoured. But now we've got a peacock problem where the peacocks come in and eat everything. So anyway, you go from one problem to the next. Here is the lime. These are pleached lime trees, which we grew from tiny little twigs. And look how good they are now. They look lovely. Structurally, they look good, and they will also need a cut. I don't know if Alice is intending to do those as well today, I'm not sure. This is an oak leaf hydrangea. This is from Olivia's garden actually. The woodland garden that we're entering now is a bit of a mess because I haven't weeded it for a long time, so I need to get in here. So I'll just approach the woodland garden from this side. So the woodland garden has got mostly these Betula Jacomontes, the silver birch. We've got 3, 4, 5, about 6 of them, 7 of them I think. And they're really getting quite big now. And the nice thing about silver birch is that it's quite a dappled shade. It doesn't cast a heavy, dark shade. We did have conifers here originally, and it was always very dark in this area, whereas with this light you can get that dapple shade and you can get all the lovely bulbs coming through in the spring. So yes, I must get in here and do a little bit of tidying up. We have had quite a lot of storms, so there's a lot of twigs and things lying about. So that's that area. The pond needs a sort out and a clean out, I think. And that's the Montana. There's the damage here. That was that, this is another Pittosporum, oh gosh, that's the pigeons. Pittosporum tenifolium, Irene Patterson, and it's been damaged by the wind. It's broken there, so I need to come in, need to get a saw and just cut that off. It's a lovely shrub, but sadly it's been quite badly damaged on that side. Here's just more hydrangea, and this is the view from the pond into the woodland garden. And this is a very cold part of the garden because it's shaded, particularly at this time of year, by the shade of the house, so it gets quite cold here. Now here we've got the Amilanchias. And underneath we've got some box. I think we're quite tempted to get rid of the box, and we want to revisit this area. This area needs a complete redesign, but you can see just looking up the garden we've got another layer of beech, and then we've got the yew, and then we've got the beech at the top. So just giving that layer and contrasting colours all the way up. It just means that the garden holds its structure, holds its form in the winter months and looks good all year round. And this is the view back up the Hornbeam Walk. In our garden we've got 2 rows of pleached hornbeams. They're a real asset to the garden. They add such strong, lovely structure to the garden and they look absolutely fantastic. But one thing that we felt was letting it down a little bit was we had this kind of random mishmash self-seeding kind of planting underneath, and the formality of the hornbeam was getting a little bit lost with all this mishmash of planting. So we decided to remove all of that, and in its place we've planted some 2 rows of skimmias. We chose skimmias. We debated with lots of different options what we could plant, but we decided on skimmias because they do well in deep shade, where these hornbeam do cast a bit of shade in the summer. So they seem to be doing quite well. They're looking lovely, and they don't do much the rest of the year, but in spring when not much else is out, they come into their own and they look absolutely beautiful. So we're looking forward to seeing their display for the this will be their second, we just planted them and they were in flower, and it'd be nice to see them again this spring too. So we're looking forward to that. And while we're on the subject of the hornbeam, this time of year Alistair is just going through the hornbeam, doing the care that he does in the winter pruning. So I think we'll get him to do a video. We have done videos on the hornbeam before, but better to come from him because he's really the one that does it. I've never done it. He does it all himself, and it looks fantastic. So he really knows what he's doing. We've had it now for well over 10 years. The first row that we put in, so he's quite an expert on how to do it, so it's really worth going up the ladder with him and hearing from him exactly what he's doing. So we'll follow that up in another video. Designing a garden is a little bit like playing a game of chess. Doing one thing impacts another, so you have to kind of get the order of things right, sort of from a practical point of view and a logical point of view. And so we needed more soil before we could, we wanted to lay turf in the area that we've just been at. So we wanted to lay turf. So before we could do that, we needed to level the soil and get the levels right. So we needed soil for that. So we thought we were going to have to buy some soil. But then we also thought, well, when we come to dig up this area, this area we've always had a vision to put some water in the middle of it, and we wanted to put a rill. So we knew we were going to have all the spoils from the rill. So we would have to pay to get rid of all the spoils. So it seemed kind of logical to use the spoils from here over there. So we pushed this job forward. We weren't really ready to do it, but we decided it would make a lot more sense to do it that way round. And although it's looked a bit of an eyesore for this last year, it seemed the sensible way of doing it. So we aim to complete the structural part of this garden this year. And although I'm dying to get on with the plants, I'm not allowed to do the plants yet. Alistair said no, he's got to get the structural stuff done properly first, and then I can do the plants. So I'm going to have to wait and really take our time. I'm learning. I'm always very impatient. Alice is the one that likes to do things methodically, do things slowly, do things right, whereas I have got a tendency to rush into things. So I have made provision for the plants, because what I've done, I've lifted everything that I want to keep. So everything left in here is stuff that I don't want. However, if some things come up in the spring that I do want, then I'll be in a position to dig them up. It's quite difficult to remember what's what. You'll see the Stipa gigantea is still here, simply because I didn't have anywhere to put it. So I will dig that up when we come to deconstruct these borders, and also the Olivia roses are still in, so they will be kept as well and used somewhere else. But the rest of it's going to come out, and that includes all the box hedging as well. So before we get to the planting, we want to do the rill. The rill's going to be quite costly, because we've got to get a pond liner, we've got to get some stones around the edge, and at the end we're going to put up, we've got a summer house, which you've already got that, so we want to get on and do that. So this is a big job for this year, which we'll hopefully get to. The plants themselves, we've got plenty of plants to go in, so I've lifted the ones I want to keep, and we'll head now to the vegetable patch, and I'll explain about the other plants for this area as well. So the vegetable garden here is a good example of where we got completely distracted. So I think literally one of the first days out in the garden after Christmas 2023, we went out into the garden only to discover that the shed was leaking. There was all water, everything was flooded, lots of things were ruined or soaked through. So we realised that we had a leak on the roof in the shed. So that then became our priority. We had intended to kind of make a start on the rill, but that didn't happen, because this then became the #1 priority. So we took the roof off. Alistair then noticed that all the wood was completely rotten, so it had been leaking for a while. So that meant replacing the whole roof. He then decided to do the job really thoroughly and make a really good job of it, so we weren't going to be revisiting. Nothing worse than revisiting all these boring kind of jobs. When we had the shed, we got these people came in with the shed and built it, and to be honest, they didn't do it very well. They ran out of felt, and they used some other, anyway, to cut a long story short, it wasn't done particularly well. So Alistair thought, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Let's really make it secure for a long time. So he's done it really thoroughly, replaced all the wood and insulated the roof. And then he decided, well, as we're insulating the roof, let's insulate all the walls and make it into not just a shed, which it was, just a utilitarian shed, a place to dump all our tools and stuff, but rather to make it into a lovely place to be. So the more places like that you want to be in the garden, you can move around into different places. And this is a real asset now, because not only is it a great place to have like cups of tea and your lunch when we're muddy, particularly when we've got muddy boots on, and we do eat out in the garden quite a lot at all times of year, but also it's a really good place for doing my YouTube videos. So as I'm doing now, it's just comfortable. I was getting quite cold being outside in the winter. So I've got somewhere to be. I've got a little heater in here. If I want to put the heating on, it heats up lovely, really quickly, and it's insulated like a kind of egg box. So that I stay lovely and toasty warm. I've got all my arty stuff that was in the house. I've got it all out here. It's all in one place, so I can find things much better. I've got all my dried flowers out here, so I'm not messing up the kitchen when I do arty, crafty projects. And I just love being out here. It's one of my favourite places to be. We eat out here, as I said, and quite often in the summer we have dinner out here because we're usually out here till quite late. We've got a little fridge in here, we've got a kettle in here, so it's just lovely. So that's been a bit of a surprise project that we didn't set out to do at the beginning of the year, but nonetheless it's done and it's a real bonus. And then because we were in this area, we were really focused on this area, we then decided to just get on and do the raised borders. So we'd had an idea that we wanted to put some raised borders in the vegetable garden to make it easier to grow. So we had intended to do that, but I think probably because we were so focused on this area, we decided to push on with that job as well. So that took out most of the beginning of the year, really right up. Alistair was doing the raised borders sort of early summer. The thing with that meant, because he was still building them, I was a little bit restricted on how much growing space I had for vegetables. So I definitely did fewer vegetables this year. However, that ended up being quite a good thing because I did mention in my last year's video that Olivia had been toying with the idea of doing a show garden at the Tatton RHS Tatton Flower Show. She's a landscape architect student, and so she was quite keen to kind of cut her teeth and do her first show garden. So she applied, and I think in about January, February time, she heard that she'd been accepted and it was going ahead. So she asked me would I grow some plants for her, some annuals particularly. So that was probably a little bit naive on my part. I didn't quite realise how difficult it was going to be. But anyway, I did it. I grew lots of all these annuals and things. But then come about March time, we had a rabbit infestation. All the rabbits were coming across. There was a field opposite, and hundreds of rabbits were getting into the garden, and they devastated everything. They were eating absolutely everything. This was a little bit stressful because I had been growing all these plants for Olivia's show garden, and they were all on the ground because I had so many of them. And we were a bit fearful that the whole lot would get eaten by the rabbits. And so Alistair then had to finish off, he was doing the raised borders at the time. He finished those off, and then he had to prioritise rabbit proofing the garden. So we have had, actually when I think about it, we have had quite a lot of derailers this year, things that are pushing us off all the things that we set out to do. So with that, with the rabbit problem, I did have the asset of these raised borders. So what I did was put all the plants that I was growing for Olivia's garden in the raised borders, which got them off the ground and meant that the rabbits couldn't eat the plants. However, in doing so, it meant I couldn't really grow many vegetables. But in fairness, we were so busy for the summer with the show garden that really I didn't have a lot of time. But I have missed a lot of the vegetables that we normally have. I didn't have quite so many, but we did have some. And whilst reflecting on 2024, I think the highlight of 2024 was Olivia's show garden. It was a lovely experience, really, really, really hard work, but a real family affair. It was lovely to come together, the four of us. Joshua was home, and Alistair, Olivia and I really came together. It was a family project, and it was really, really enjoyable. This was her first show garden, so we wanted to be on hand to give her as much help as she needed for the first time. The garden was quite a small garden, and it was called a border garden, and she designed it all, did it all on CAD. Quite a lengthy process, applying and going through all of that, but it was a real steep learning curve, which she really did really, really well, and she won a silver gilt medal, which was fantastic. So spurred on by that, she's now her wings of spreading her wings, and off she goes into her career. She no longer really needs our help. We're here always for a little bit of support, but to be honest with you, she knows exactly what she's doing now. She's become really organised, really on it, and so watch this space. She's got more to come. So yeah, that was a definite highlight, but it did take its toll a little bit on our garden, in so much that we just didn't have any time to do much to our own garden in the height of summer. However, it also benefited our garden because a lot of the plants that we bought and we used for her garden, we then brought back to our garden and rehomed them in our garden. The perennials that we grew, a lot of them grew from seed. We bought some from a nursery, so all of those perennials will also go into the new long borders. So I've got all those in the vegetable patch, which we brought back after the show garden. They've been kept in the vegetable patch just over the winter period. So what I'll do in the spring is I'll pot them all on into bigger pots, get them nice big clumps of plants, nice big clumps of perennials, and then when it comes time to, when Alistair hands over to me in the real garden, we'll be able to have the great fun of placing all the plants out in the border, just like we did for Olivia's show garden, placing them all out exactly how we think we want them, looking at being able to stand back, look at what they look like. They'll be in flower as well in the summer, and then decide exactly what we want these borders to look like. So that's really exciting. But in summary, the garden in winter time really is starting to look good because we've now got the maturity of all the hedges. Most of the hedges are pretty much at the height that we want them to be. Some of them have still got to grow a little bit more, but on the whole, the structure is now there. We've got privacy on all sides, from the road, from the neighbours. Everywhere's really private now. So yeah, I think the structure, getting the structure right of your garden is just so important. And if you've got good structure, the bones of the garden are right, then the planting can come and go. The summer plants come and they go, but the garden still looks good. So I do intend to do a little series on designing a garden. So I will hopefully get to that soon. If you're new to gardening, just knowing how to begin is a big problem sometimes, how to start. Once we got the idea of what we wanted, we've never had any problem knowing what to do next. We've always known exactly what to do next, and although we can disagree sometimes, on the whole, we're pretty much on the same page. We know exactly what we want to do, so it's just getting the time and the budget and all of those things just to get on and do it. So thank you very much for watching. Happy gardening and happy 2025, and hope you'll join us for lots more videos. So thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.